Hello and welcome to Final Cut Presents the Director's Cut podcast. I am not your usual host, so let's bear with me for a moment because I might just be a little bit better.
Oh,
No, I couldn't be better.
very dangerous territory.
Okay, all right. I need popcorn.
Anyways, spitball in here. I've lost my train of thought, so let's get back to
it. So basically, what you need to do, because I was in this spot during my thing too. Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Dental plan, Lisa needs braces. Eventually, you will get back to whatever point you were trying to make.
I got it.
You got it.
I am Ben. Probably the newest member of the podcast. Probably, say, because there might be somebody else in Nathan's head right now.
Fair enough. I'll give him that.
Our regular host here, Dean, I think they usually call him the Visor, the Visor, the Vision.
I'll tell you what, Ben, best way to do it is just think of something that comes into your head regarding the host and the hosts. So for Nathan's one, you might say a man who focuses a bit too much on Shawn Michaels, then he should, for instance.
And for Dean, you could say Scott, the producer's second Scott Eastwood, in the fact that he will always be, second best to Scott Eastwood. But hey, what can you do?
Scott Eastwood phoning up complaining.
It could very well be.
The man who didn't turn off his phone, Nathan Tasker.
You call that my phone?
Well, I mean, it's not at my place.
No, my phone's on the silent. I don't have a landline. Don't need to when you got mobile phones.
So, I believe we're just jumping into the topic today.
We're just jumping into the topic. No news is good news, except for the idea. Please, dear God, give Grant Kirkhope his money.
All right. So, the Dungeons and Dragons movie was released. It was, I believe. If it hasn't been, it's at least been premiered.
It's available in the UK now. I had a choice of either that or John Wick, and I chose John Wick. But in England, anyway, Dungeons and Dragons is available to watch.
Yeah, I believe it is available to watch here, too. Now, a lot of success is coming out of the movie from what is being said in the tabloids, whatever you want to call them, by critics and fans. So, a big question right now, first, the Dungeons & Dragons movie being a success, after shows like, say, Critical Role, Dimension 20, High Rollers, many, many more, animated TV has come out, The Legend of Vox Machina doing really well, specifically. Is it right to say that D&D is either becoming more and more mainstream or just nerd culture in general, as Nathan has pointed out before, becoming a mainstream stay?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's D&D. I think D&D is one of the biggest benefactors of it. I think it's exactly as you said, nerd culture, geek culture becoming more and more mainstream. And if you look at it, we can look at it through the rise of the superhero franchise originally, comics, TV shows, very, very much geek culture. Now we get the rise of, your Spider-Mans, your Deadpools, what have you. Dungeons & Dragons, very, very much the same way, and they did it very similarly. Yeah. If you look at Dungeons & Dragons, and you can vouch for this, you've been a DM for a very, very long time.
Oh, yeah.
There is lore. There are characterizations. There are your shows like Critical Role, where literally all you're doing is playing Dungeons & Dragons. And Dungeons & Dragons' barrier to entry is so freakishly high and low that literally anyone could get into it and very few people can master it. It's one of the perfect properties in that way. So more and more people, because of the focus on your continuity, whether it be a continuity in your own campaign or just continuity in the greater lore itself, with a supreme open-endedness and a willingness to deal with whatever your fan bases throw at you, is huge for D&D. And it, the principles that you're going to have in this movie are the principles of D&D apply to literally all of cinema,
Yeah.
because D&D more often than anything else is all based around creativity.
Okay, now, Dean, I don't know how much you know about Dungeons and Dragons, if anything.
All I know is what I know of what's been on Big Bang Theory. That's literally all I know.
Okay, so you know absolutely nothing because they do it wrong.
Yes, that
Uh,
would surprise me.
Everyone rolls their
Television
own dice usually. It's not up to just the one person to roll the die. Your fate is in your own hands.
right?
Wait, what?
Uh,
I don't.
and a little bit of luck.
A lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
luck. Do you know how many crit
Uh,
fails I've ever rolled in my time?
yeah, it's like 729,462. But who's counting?
It was 469, but yeah, you're close enough.
Um, so D&D, there is like the base game is go here, kill this, get loot. But D&D as a whole, say, general structure, you can do pretty much any kind of storytelling with it. Dimension 20, for example, have taken it to a bigger level where they've done things like space travel. They've done high school telling like stories, high school life in general. So it really depends on how you want to focus your campaign that you can do stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's very, very much focused on you,
Yeah.
your decisions, your characters that you build from scratch.
Yeah. The DM is
And
there to help guide you generally, not to try, well, maybe to
not
try to hinder you here and there, try and get your character to build. It's basically, if you do it properly, you get the right people, it's like a second life type of
Yeah,
thing.
Oh.
and you will see loads of people online who will live vicariously through their characters. How I did it for a long period of time as Hadod, son of Brune and Hildeth. Um, for a long period of time, because you know what's more fun, like when you are in your early 20s, rather than a guy struggling to find a job in a market that he wasn't built for, or a big fat lumbering mountain dwarf with the emphasis on family that would drive anyone insane, that insisted on calling people sugar tits, that had some of the worst charismatic seduction moves in history. It is a lot of fun to be in that world. I think what you can take from something like a D&D, if you're going into the film world, and Dean, you might be able to attest to this, maybe you won't be able to, but when you go to a movie,
Mhm.
you like to see some version of yourself in that movie, something that you can attach yourself to in terms of a character. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. D&D is all about your creation, your control, your character, your group of characters, your party, your camaraderie, the allies you build along the way, the enemies you build along the
Friends.
way, your friends, the monsters you might fight. Ben, I know, for example, one of the things you told me about one of your favorite campaigns was it one of your players was blinded, and you had them go up against a flesh golem, and it was the faces of all of their
Oh,
family or something like that.
he wasn't blinded.
Yeah.
In one of my campaigns, I had this character who had a terrible backstory. Now, he left the backstory completely open-ended.
Mhm.
So, uh, he decided at one point that, hey, we're traveling here. My old village is over here. I'm gonna go visit it. He knows that the village has been destroyed, that pretty much everyone is gone. He gets to the village, and there is a flesh golem made out of the faces of his friends, his family, basically his whole clan, and he is too shocked, too dismayed, and completely taken aback by it because of he didn't realize that it wasn't just destroyed, it was taken over, and his family, the faces of his friends were now trying to kill him and his new group. So, that's absolutely one of my favorite memories from that campaign. It was
Yeah.
I loved it so much. But even so, with this, like, say, new D&D movie, there have already been things, say, D&D like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit. That is very much D&D like.
In terms of the stereotypical view of D&D.
Yeah. You
But
could
again,
basically put any movie into the world of D&D and it be a D&D story any way you want to tell it.
anyway, you want to tell it.
Yeah. The Matrix is just D&D with the player cheating.
He's not wrong.
That is one way to look at it.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
It's like, yeah, it's absolutely like, hey, player role. So it's like Agent Smith is doing that. How do you respond? It's like, I rolled a dodge. Player rolls like a say a 5, fails, but then he's like, nah, that's just like a nat 20, and he dodges all the bullets. Now the DM didn't get to see the roll. Generally, you want the DM to see the roll, but this player is cheating.
Yep. And it works.
You could say it about pretty much any movie. It could be in a D&D world, which I think D&D opens up a lot to storytelling, well, a lot storytelling wise in movies and that.
And a lot more in terms of continuity.
Yeah.
Not just outside of D&D, but if this movie does well, really well, like it says it's going to in terms of critical reception, you're going to see a lot more of your shows like your Game of Thrones, which is very, very much influenced by D&D.
Yeah.
Your serialized storytelling, strong emphasis on character, fantastical elements, what have you. You look at something like The Witcher with Henry Cavill right now. I know we talked about that a lot before on this podcast, but it bears mentioning again. The Witcher is basically set in a D&D world.
Yep.
The only difference is your hero is somewhat bloodthirsty and has gone through a lot of stuff. It is a high level campaign at its best. What you're going to see if this movie does well is more and more options, I feel, for creativity and a strong continuity.
Are there possibly any questions from Dean about D&D or anything like that?
Probably too many, to be honest. I do see the point about how we can relate to D&D in a lot of ways. I think the other thing is, and I know a fair bit. I mean, isn't Kevin Smith a big D&D player?
Kevin Smith has credited D&D with
Yeah.
a lot of his creative decisions, believe it or not.
Joe Manganiello, apparently he's a big D&D fan.
Oh, very big. I've seen his, so on YouTube they actually he posted a tour of his D&D room that I believe his wife is not allowed in at all.
It's not allowed in that.
And it is magnificent.
He's brave. He is very brave.
Or very foolish.
His wife doesn't understand it.
I don't mean I'm going to sound a bit of an insult to Sophia here, but it's always insulting if you don't understand why you're not allowed in there.
No. His wife doesn't understand D&D. She knows why she's not allowed in there.
I sort of understand D&D. I sort of understand it just from what you guys have said.
Yeah.
I think a lot of things. I mean, John Wick didn't have the celebrity appeal that D&D already has, and I think the fact that D&D's been going for a long time. I believe it's in its isn't it celebrating its 50th anniversary soon?
I believe so.
It's
D&D 1, I believe, was just introduced back in February, which is the whole new D&D structure, and I think it's the last D&D structure because they're just going to keep adding to it.
So I think the fact that there's a lot of celebrities out there who have already played it, and the fact that the minute the movie comes out, it'll either be more popular or it'll be less popular.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's already a bit of a fan base, which obviously there is. Celebrities play it, like I said, Kevin Smith and Joe Manganiello, just two of them. Then anything is limitless. I mean, I can't speak for D&D, but Henry Cable's a big fan of Warhammer 40,000, which is getting its own TV series.
Yeah, and it's close to D&D as well. The
I
only
believe
difference is,
Warhammer was somewhat based off of D&D when
yeah,
it first started coming out.
inspired by it anyway.
Yeah.
But a lot of the culture behind Warhammer too, where you're building your own miniatures,
Yeah.
and the depth of its combat very much taken from D&D.
So literally, D&D is literally in every aspect of our lives, near enough.
If you look hard enough for it, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Dean, what are some of your favorite movies of all time? Other than Ringu. I know Ringu.
Ringu the movie, I wouldn't watch unless someone paid me. Like I did say about $1 million, but I'll go down as far as 100,000.
He's got the Blu-rays. Never opened it.
I have got the DVDs. I've never opened them.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, we can actually say this. Went to see John Wick on Friday night. Absolutely brilliant. So let's go with John Wick from there.
Okay. So John Wick.
Yeah. John Wick.
I don't know enough about John Wick to be able to say how much of it is based off of D&D, but again, why do you enjoy John Wick so much?
Because of the action sequences of the kung fu, I'll say the kung fu, the gun fu, and the fact that you just want Keanu Reeves to succeed in every way, shape, or form of life.
John Wick is just he's just a high level gunslinger trying to make his way through life.
And your action sequences there are simply just rolls of the dice and rolls of fate. The only thing that John Wick has that D&D doesn't, at least in the stuff I've played, but very much that's low level stuff, is John Wick's ability to dodge and his ability to pivot. Unless you're that tapped into the character and the situations, which when you are, is absolutely mind blowing as to what you can and can't do if you got a good DM.
Yeah, a lot of D&D can end up being grounded into reality by just stripping it down to its barest forms and going off of that. It doesn't need magic or dragons or anything like that. It could literally be anything.
The quest to McDonald's could be D&D if you really wanted it to be. But I think what you're looking at for John Wick, because you got a high level gunslinger, as Ben said, you've also got a strong campaign behind John Wick.
Yeah.
John Wick as a character wasn't built up in one session, just like your movies with your strongest continuities aren't built up in one movie. We can go back to stuff like, say, your Harry Potter franchise, your Lord of the Rings franchise. Every aspect of your campaign builds on top of one another, in a way where you're constantly asking, well, what's next? Okay, but then what if this happens? Or what if this happens? What if new soldiers by Sauron start calling out to the ring? What if there is a crazy, insane man who has dealt with the One Ring of Power for centuries showing up, now is hell bent on destroying it, but yet he still loves it to death? What's he going to do? You don't know.
As someone who DMs and also plays D&D, I didn't start playing D&D until I think probably about 7 years ago. I was always more of a sports person. Um, so I can very much say that it's not just for nerds or geeks or whatever you want to call them. It's not one culture. It's doing something you love with people you care about and just having a good time.
Does it also is it also something that requires a lot of imagination?
Yes.
Ideally.
Well, that's my mum and dad's stuff then because they have no imagination.
Yeah. But how many times have you watched a movie, Dean, and you've wished to yourself, you think to yourself that was boring? Or how
A fair
as
few, I'll be honest.
yeah, how many of those modern and how many of those have been like modern within the past 5 or 6 years?
Not that many, to be honest.
The ones that have been, what are they essentially?
Oh, worst movie I've ever watched was Project X, which basically tried to be American Pie but too serious. It was so
Okay.
shit.
So
Hold on,
about that,
let me
That's
just
the
finish.
one.
yeah, I'll let you finish
It was
first.
so shit. Even a skater boy whose target audience it was walked out.
Okay, yeah. So about that, there are some D&D groups like that. We call them murder hobos. All
Yep.
they do is go around and cause havoc, killing people with no care in the world. Um, to a lot of people, that is not fun at all. But to a select few people, that's all they care about. I am very much more in the storytelling aspect of D&D rather than the murder hobos. But D&D to me, without any combat, ends up being boring.
Yeah, it's like if you had a new D&D movie but it had no sword fighting or anything like that, it wouldn't be worth making.
At that point, I don't think they call it a D&D movie really, but there are many books based off of D&D. Whether they be action, adventure, I think there might even be a few like romance type things.
Yep.
I'm not
With very
100%
with
certain on
very
that.
little combat, but still very much within
Yeah,
the D&D universe. It takes a lot more creativity to pull off, but they're there.
yeah. For things like that, I wouldn't slap a D&D title onto it, but because people know generally what they're getting with the D&D name.
Yeah.
But literally say Love Actually could be a D&D story just
Oh
about
God.
romance.
Oh God,
I
it's
couldn't
true.
think of any other like
Oh God, but it's true.
yeah, any movie could be a D&D story.
Yeah.
D&D has a lot of aspects of anything you want it to be.
Yeah. And I think in this culture now, Dean, you were saying it a few weeks back. You've got everything at your fingertips, right? You can choose whatever you want, and you don't know where the hell to go in order to get the best thing for you.
What about streaming services, aren't we?
Yeah, we're on about streaming services because you've got literally hundreds of options.
Yeah, there's too many. Even on Amazon Prime, when you look, there's too many.
Yeah, D&D is that, but you can make every option yourself, and every option that you make with a good DM and a good team around you matters. It's an emphasis on that creativity and that will to be the best that you can be. At the end of the day, ain't that what we're aiming for with Hollywood?
We aim for a lot of things with Hollywood. I have got a question for you two.
Yeah,
Okay.
Since you two play D&D a lot, what did you think of that D&D movie with Jeremy Irons in it 20 years ago?
we don't talk
Oh,
about it.
it sucked.
Is this the same sort of we don't talk about it like that certain match in Saudi Arabia?
If you want to
What
go
match in Saudi
there,
Arabia?
if you want to go there,
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do. The one where the Undertaker stunk it up,
Oh,
Actually,
Nathan,
and
that was just
and
a that's
Triple
just a
H
hay
got
fever dream you had.
That kind
That
of
never
answer.
happened.
Shawn Michaels shows up
Yeah,
with angel
Nathan.
wings
Yeah, Nathan, that never happened.
and saves the world.
Yeah, that never happened.
Are you sure?
Positive.
I was
It's just
actually
a
on
dream
about.
you had.
I was on about Titus O'Neil running down to the ramp, tripping up and falling in the ring. That's what I was.
Oh,
Oh
no,
no,
that actually happens. That is
actually happened. That actually happened. That's
yeah,
one of the greatest, tightest
that's
moments
there.
of all time.
And you know what? One of the biggest proponents to D&D right there. See, Titus rolled a crit fail.
Yeah, and then he became Titus World Slide.
That's actually
Because
that's actually
yeah.
quite funny.
Yeah. So really, at the end of the day, for me anyway, I don't think this is about D&D and what D&D's success can lead to, but rather what people can learn from D&D as a concept as you're going into movies. We all want to see movies where either we are the star or there's people that we can latch onto. D&D is
Yeah,
all
no, I don't
about
want to be
that,
the star.
but or people you can latch onto.
I want to be the villain.
Yeah, villains can be stars for the love of God.
Oh, I don't need to be a star.
For the love of God, for the love of God, look at the Saw franchise.
It's so much easier to be the bad guy.
Nobody knew who Alan Rickman was before Die Hard. The minute he became Hans Gruber, everyone knew who he was.
And damn, was he good. But that's the thing. We want characters that we can latch onto, characters that we enjoy, in situations that we can enjoy. D&D is that on crack.
Yeah.
And if you've got an emphasis on that creativity with the people that can do it well, whether it be D&D movies or Hollywood, you're in a fantastic place.
Ivan, boys, since you two do play D&D a lot, what does, bearing in mind the movie is actually out, what must this movie do to sort of be more of a success than that other one so many years ago that nobody really speaks about?
Be good.
I actually have people who care about the freaking game.
Which they do.
On top of that, your effects have to be top notch. The writing, the movement, everything has got to feel like a super fantastical world brimming with creativity and life. At least that's the way that I look at D&D in its best forms.
Yeah, they have an excellent cast for this.
Yes, they do.
Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, a guy who I don't know how to say his name.
I believe it. I'm not sure I pronounce it, but I believe it's pronounced Ray Sean Page.
No, I think it's Justice Smith.
Yeah, him and the other one.
no, that is the one I was stuck on, but I was making a joke there.
If anybody doesn't know who he is, just look at Bridgerton. Look at the handsome one in Bridgerton. That's who he is.
And it makes me so freaking happy that Hugh Grant is in it. I'm like, you have no place in this, but I love it.
And yet, he will probably be one of the most memorable things in the movie because he is
one of the most talked about parts.
Yeah.
In fairness, Hugh Grant was
brilliant.
I'm going to say Hugh Grant was only known for comedies, but if you've seen him in in Guy Ritchie's Gentleman, you know he can be quite a devious little shit.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm assuming you've seen The Gentleman.
It's been a while, but yeah, I can't remember much from it.
I can definitely remember Hugh Grant being a sneaky little shit. Oh yeah, I was actually a bit skeptical when he was first cast in sort of a conniving, sneaky role. But once I watched it, I thought, do you know what? I think his career's been wasted the last 20 odd years. So I actually,
absolutely.
I think he'll be the star of the show. I generally do think that.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me, when we look at this, and when we look at this as a concept, why the hell hasn't it been done with this level of care before?
Probably because nobody dares.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, it's like everything. It's like a Marvel movie or DC. You do something that the fan base doesn't like, you'll never hear the end of it. So I think after however many years it was, I think someone probably decided, yeah, do you know what? Maybe we should have another crack at it. I mean, no offense, but we can't do it any worse.
He's got a
Completely
point.
agree.
He got a point.
From the trailer, it does look very good. I'll be brutally honest.
And the reviews it's getting are more than warranted about that. Like, this is a very, very talked about film, a very, very talked about movie, and one that could shape the way we look at movies in the future if it does well enough. Because
I'm specifically hoping they end up going with some of the books in, hopefully for like a TV series or movie series. I can't remember the freaking guy's name right now for some reason. It's my favorite character in all of D&D. He is a rogue.
Brock.
No, not even close.
Oh, come
I think I have
on.
his mini behind me somewhere, actually. I can find it. That or it's with all my other D&D stuff.
It could be.
It's with all my other D&D stuff. But it's a very famous thief who forms a band of.
Oh, is it Drizzy?
People. Yes, it's Driz.
Yeah.
And I'm really hoping they tell those stories and they get the right cast for it.
Yeah. For me, you can do anything as a jumping off point, and if you make it creative enough to the point where it's not a formulaic comfort food, you're going to do fantastic things with your dungeons and your dragons.
Yeah.
No. Let him go right.
Just do Erdin or something like that. Yeah. But yeah. Again, no, let him go right is correct.
Yeah.
With that said, I think that's all we have for
that's
today.
All we have.
I am Ben, the person who came up with this ridiculous idea while eating fried chicken. You can find me at DGen Sigma on Instagram and Twitter, and as well as over at DGen Wrestling on YouTube, where we have one avid viewer.
Yes, we'd like to thank Jerry from Kazakhstan. He's been an absolute joy. And Jerry,
again, I was talking about Dean.
And Jerry, if we could continue to make content for you.
Yeah, no, that was my lead in for Dean to talk. If that.
I'm sorry. Sorry, gentlemen. By the way, have you put your WrestleMania predictions up yet? Because I haven't.
Yes.
Oh, in that case, when I've got time tonight, I will have a look at them. But
yeah, they were up yesterday morning, and somebody's already won.
Yeah.
Somebody's birthday yesterday, if I seem to remember correctly.
Yes, exactly. And we would like to praise that person right here and now. Ladies and gentlemen, we here at Final Cut Presents Director's Cut Podcast would like to pay tribute to a man whose cruelty knows no bounds. A man whose tongue is so filled with wit and black consuming hatred that he strikes fear into the hearts of everyone he says hello chaps to. A man who makes all the women blush, all the men weep.
I definitely try
that. And all of the Bruce Campbell fans out there go, wait, what, really? We're not talking about the other guy? A man whose vision has brought forth the podcast of his dreams. A man whose creativity is based off of the hard work of others. A man whose content was held up by one guy for like 4 months. Because that one guy had to go away to a play, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, let's do the thing," and then they couldn't do the thing, and then all the interviews happened, and he's like, "Okay, cool, I can still do this. I had the greatest interview in the world," and people are like, "Oh my god!" And then everything happens, and then before you know it,
is that even English?
The producer, Mel Appleton. We would like to salute her. We would like to salute her for her contributions to the podcast.
Dude, I totally thought you were talking about Logan Paul.
Oh.
I thought you were.
And the Prime Energy drink drinking, kiss, steal, and wheel and dealing son of a gun, Dean Connolly. How was your Prime?
I don't know. I've never tried it.
You don't wanna.
Yeah,
Unless it's really cold.
the can over here can sell for about 20 quid a bottle.
What?
Yeah. People have. I think there's some been on eBay for £20. Even Logan.
Dude, I got a get rich quick scheme coming
Do
up.
not buy it.
If we sell it for $14 a bottle, we pay for the shipping.
It only costs us like $2 a bottle here.
We can pay for the shipping and get profit.
No.
Yeah.
We've got a plan. We plan to make millions off of the backs of hard-working Brits. You can find me at www.deathpixie.ca if you want to talk to me about voiceover opportunities or commission me for some of your own. www.deathpixie.ca. Best way to get a hold of me.
And if you want to get hold of me, you can find me on Finalcut Official. It was my birthday yesterday. I officially hit big 40. So for a lot of people, that's midlife crisis. For me, that's just normal. So
are you saying you're constantly in a midlife crisis?
It feels like I am. It just feels like I am. So I did get some pretty great presents. So I'd just like to thank everyone who gave me presents, namely the producer. So I will actually be putting some photos up of what I got. But what I did get, Nathan, what I've been longing for more than a Paul Heyman Funko Pop, was a Sir Lewis Hamilton Funko Pop.
Whoa, seriously?
Yep.
Nice.
And an Evil Lynn one as well, but I secretly wished that I could have had a Paul Heyman one.
Well, come to Canada. I think one of us can get you covered.
Yeah, Ben, since it was my birthday yesterday and you haven't got me a present, can I have your Paul Heyman Funko Pop?
I can get you Nathan's.
I mean, we're gonna play rock either way. So
I'll find it. It's always around in England anyway. But yes.
Either way, I'm gonna steal Nathan's. If I have to give mine up.
You legitimately don't understand the way he works. See, the thing here is, if you ask him for something, he's more than happy to do it. But okay, that is a damn nice Hamilton.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a damn nice Hamilton.
Actually,
that looks nothing like Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Let me just show you the number as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh, number one.
Number one, yeah, that's the very first number one I've got. So that's the pride and joy.
Yeah, I don't have any even close to
that. What's your closest Ben? Like 314 or what?
113.
Okay.
113 is the Heyman.
All right. Thank you so much for listening, especially if your name is Jerry from Kazakhstan. I don't know what else to say, man. This ain't my podcast.
You're the one that has control of the recording.
I know I'm the one that's recording,
just
but like I was waiting for somebody to be like, well, that's the end. Cheerio, pip pip, carry ho. Did you know, chaps, that I, for one, secretly love Project X? I know I say I hate it.
Oh, God, here we
but
go.
My word, the cinematography of the people leaving the theater is so spot on, it feels like it's coming right at me. But like Michael Jackson before me, I simply stood in awe.
No.
Can you end the recording now?
No!